Hey there, this is Mr. Sword, and we will be walking our way through drawing a bear. So we're going to start with shapes. So hopefully you've got a good reference, and I have my picture here. Let's get my paper all set up. And so I've got my reference, and I'm going to make myself kind of a vertical line down the middle to help divide that space up. And then a horizontal line, it's going to help me place where my large shapes are. And then I'm looking at, where the bear is located as compared to the edges of the paper. So I'm going to start making some of those marks here. And this video is in real time, so you can see how I actually develop the piece from start to finish. And while I'm doing this, I'm constantly looking back and forth between the reference picture and what I'm doing, because this is the foundation that I'm laying for the finished piece. So not too worried about getting everything exactly right, just starting to get a feel. You'll notice that I don't even have an eraser on the pencil that I'm using, just making some lines, trying to find where the edges of the bear are, where the parts are, starting to get a feel for where the different angles are and what lines up with what. See there, I was doing like the leg kind of lining up with the inside part of the head, starting to get a little bit of angle. That kind of curve into the back. So I'm really just seeking and searching, trying to find the different edges that will define the bear. It's already starting to look a little bit more like a bear than anything else. Now I'm going to go ahead and start putting in some facial features, roughing in where the nose is, where the eyes are. Looking at the angles and making sure that it's kind of pointing in the right direction. And really not even drawing circles, just kind of shading in where things are going to go at this point. And you can follow along with me if you'd like, because again, I'm doing this in real time. I haven't sped this up at all. So this first initial phase of kind of placing the bear on the page, getting the shapes together, looking for face and relative position of things, it's taking me about 4 or 5 minutes. I'm going to indicate where he's standing too, so it's not just bear floating on a white page. So he's standing up on some rocks in the reference picture, so we're going to go ahead and use those. I'm trying not to get too cartoony here, but just kind of indicating things. And you can see I'm like constantly working. My pencil, I haven't really stopped this entire time. So constantly seeking and searching, finding the lines that define some of the edges that kind of roll around his neck there. So it's just about time to change pencils and get into some shading. So I've got my darker pencil lead. I really like working with these lead holder pencils. I like the consistent weight. I like that there is an eraser. There is one right over there by my mouse pad, but I like the way they hold the lead, and I don't have to sharpen them as much as a regular pencil. So I'm going to start putting in some shadows, and I'm really just looking at the direction, because the bear has fur and it grows in certain directions. So I'm building my texture up and my value, my dark places with that texture. Just taking my time, placing in the direction of the value, so to indicate fur. I mean, if this was a smooth plastic bear, this would be entirely different, right? I'd be using smooth strokes, but because it's a big furry bear, I am using directional lines to show the direction that the fur is going. And every time I look at the reference picture and I go back into the drawing, I look at different details. I try to put little things in that start to develop the bear as a finished picture. But right now I'm still in the intermediate kind of value phase of what I'm trying to create. So yeah, we're just redefining some of those edges, looking to make some of them darker, and it's just about time to get some colored pencils involved. So here we go. So, yep, I definitely sped this part of the video up because that's a lot of coloring to do. So I went ahead and I'm just using the lighter color first, just to kind of get in those light tones, because I already did all the shadowing and shading and building a form with the darker pencil. I like to do that in my paintings as well, just kind of an underpainting of value. So as I go through this piece here, I'm just adding in the lighter colors, and then I'm going to switch to like a medium brown, sharpen that up, And I go to medium color to add in. And on this one, I am paying a little bit more attention to direction, really trying to get a flow, the fur, redefining some of the edges, and keeping that furriness going, building some shadows. And yeah, I definitely kept that fast. So I sped this up to about 3 times as fast as I normally would color. Just so you know that I don't have like superhuman coloring speed. So now I'm going to come some dark. You can see above there I kind of tested out some colors. So before I go too far into the bear, I want to make sure I get a little bit of a background kind of feel together. I'm not going to get into a lot of details on the background on this one because it is more of a study or a sketch. So I just laid some green because the green is a nice kind of cool color that kind of goes really well with these warm browns, gives me a little bit of contrast in the background. And so now I'm getting a little bit more detail, and I'm getting close to being finished. And so, get the eyes, the nose, get some darker browns. I used a little bit of a black pencil there just to kind of define some of those pieces. You can see I'm really developing those shadow areas now. And having those different values or varieties of brown really do help make the drawing interesting. I mean, I could just color it all in one color, but having those 3 different varieties of brown, the light, the medium, and the shadow, help to make it look less flat. And then what I'm going to do is cover up some of that white and just kind of give it an all-over tone with the lighter of my pencils just to kind of fill in some of those gaps.